So, I would like to talk to you a little bit about why I starting to using Mac as a computer. Back in the days, I have always been into PCs because I didn't really discover Mac until very late. Um, Actually, back in the 90s, I was used to build computers and sell them. Probably about in the middle of the 90s, somewhere around 95 to 2000 or something like that. And something that was very not very good about this whole goddamn thing was that there was always some problem, not by building the computers and that kind of stuff, that's no problem, but with the operating system, the Windows. Well, back in the days, Windows 95 wasn't really big of a problem, but when Windows 98, uh, Windows Millennium, Windows 2000, um all that kind of shit basically didn't really work very well for me. There have always been some kind of thoughts in my head that from the very early beginning when using Windows and PCs that this doesn't really feel right. This doesn't really, well, of course I can use it, I can use Windows, but there is always some piece missing, something that didn't really feel right. I didn't know what it was, but there was something that didn't feel right about using Windows, first of all. So um, I actually was thinking about what if I should try out a Mac just to see what it is, because I've never used one before. And this was probably back in the first time I used it. Maybe there it was somewhere around the year 2000, I believe. A friend of mine had a blue transparent iMac that was basically brand new at the time, very very expensive computer. Um, was trying it out a little bit, and it was kind of very awkward to use. Felt a little bit strange, a little bit strange, yeah. So I played around with it for some time, and I wasn't really into that at the time. So I continued struggling with Windows and PCs for some more years, and blue screen of death, all that kind of shit, and always trying to find, when the internet starting to get very popular uh, in the beginning of 2000, a lot of viruses going around and trying, always getting virus on my computer, different types of pop-ups, windows, and all that kind of shit that every time I'm sitting with the computer, they will pop up something, and it's driving me crazy basically. I'm trying to stay up to date with some cheap virus programs and all that kind of shit, uh, which was kind of very expensive and maybe still is very expensive. I don't know anything about Windows these days, but I believe that very good virus programs really is expensive, I believe. So I was kind of like fed up with everything, and Windows 7, well, Windows XP actually was and is a very good operating system, but you still got the issue with viruses, all that kind of shit, popping up, and problems, and graphic drivers telling me that something happened, and the the graphics just stop working. The computer needs to be restart, and then all this kind of shit going on. And first of all, starting up the computer, kind of like I could easily push the start button on my computer. I can go to my kitchen, I can make a sandwich, and I can basically eat the sandwich and then go back to the computer, and maybe it would have been started up by then. We're talking kind of like 3-4 minutes or so. I mean, it's ridiculous. So I was fed up with all this kind of shit, and I was thinking, oh man, this is driving me crazy. This is driving me crazy. I mean, and by the time I actually started my YouTube channel as well, we are now into timeline, probably about 2006 or so. So I was looking into some programs for editing my videos, and I tried out Movie Maker. But I didn't really like Movie Maker because, it didn't. I still got the problems with, oh, something quit, you need to restart the computer. I was kind of like fed up with everything. So um, Movie Maker it's not really a good program. I mean, it wasn't at the time, uh, it wasn't really possible to use all different types of files. It wasn't very good. So, and I also started to thinking about how about recording some music. What programs can I use for recording music? Well, there is some basic ones, but I couldn't really do much with it. So I tried out the Audacity and all that kind of freeware. That didn't really help me very much. So I was looking into I was looking into some programs that I could buy from somewhere because I like to buy stuff. I mean, I'm not that type of person that downloading stuff for free and that kind of stuff. I like to buy stuff. If it is good stuff, I like to buy them. Okay, so um, I was thinking about, okay, so now I need a software for editing my movies, my video clips for YouTube, and I also need some program for recording my music. And I was looking into some programs, and I discovered, wow, that's expensive. I mean, $100 for kind of like for a very 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 basic video editing program. That's kind of, oh no, I don't think I want to do that. And the same thing for kind of like recording my music. Of course, there is some, Cubase and all that kind of stuff, but I wanted something a little bit better. And, watching developers and companies selling these programs for $100, $200, $500, $1,000. I mean, there is no limit, really. So I was thinking, oh wow, I'm not gonna make this. First of all, I hate this computer. I was thinking all these pop-ups, all this formatting over and over and over again, all this reinstalling, all this. Okay, I'm gonna set it to factory settings again and try to get it to work. And that's have been happening for 10 years before I discovered the Mac. I mean, once in a while, okay, I need to erase everything on my computer. I need to reinstall everything again because this is not working. So uh, finally, I was so fed up that okay, that's it. That's it. This computer is going out of my fucking house. This is it. I'm not doing this anymore. So I gave up PC, and I actually bought my first Mac. That was an iMac back in 2006, actually. The iMac, I bought a white iMac, a 24-inch. Very expensive, very expensive. 2006 model. That's 2.16 gigahertz, I believe. That's the Core 2 Duo, I believe. So I put in I think I put in 4 gigs of RAM in there. The hard drive was kind of like, I don't really remember. The hard drive was 256 gigabytes, I believe. Well, it was a good computer back in the days. It was a good computer when I bought it. I had I had made up my mind that I was actually going to swap a PC for a Mac. I didn't know how to use a Mac. I didn't know anything. I only knew that I'm done with PC. I'm done with PC. I'm done with Windows. I'm not into this kind of shit anymore. So the only option I had at the time was actually buying a Mac, and that's what I did. I gave it a couple of days. At first, I didn't really understand very much. It felt kind of like awkward, kind of strange. You got the menu on the top of the screen. You know, you got the dock. It's kind of strange. Didn't really feel like, oh man, what have I done? I spent $3,000 on a computer that maybe I can't even learn to use. But after a couple of days, I must say that I did manage to use the computer. After a couple of days, I was feeling very good about it. So that's the learning curve for me, at least. A couple of days before I starting to get a hang of, oh wow, this is working great, and this is working cool, and wow, this is amazing. So very convenient stuff. So after a couple of days, I was starting to looking into what options I had for recording music and editing my videos, and wow, they're all for free. You know, comes with something called, back in the days, I think it was called iLife, I believe. iLife, yeah, I think it was iLife. So there I had GarageBand, and I had iMovie. That's the two programs that I actually started to use, and they were pretty much for free. I think I paid maybe $10 for iLife. I'm not really sure, but I think I paid $10. I mean, that's pocket change money, right? So that's nothing. So, and these programs just open a whole new world for me back in the days, back in 2006 actually, because very easy to use. It feels like the missing piece I have been missing when using PC and Windows for all these years. It felt like I only needed kind of like, well, overall, maybe a week to starting to learn the programs, you know, iMovie, GarageBand, and all these kind of stuff. Very simple to use, and these programs actually had everything that I was looking for, and actually pretty much for free as well. So I really started to thinking, why didn't I discover this many years ago? Well, there was a lot of stuff going on at Apple at the time, because they changed a lot when releasing the new iMac, when releasing the new MacBook back in 2006 with the unibody and all that kind of stuff. There was a lot of things going on with the new Mac OS and all that kind of stuff. So maybe I didn't really have the same possibilities before 2006, but back in 2006 it was possible with GarageBand and all this kind of stuff, you know. So that's when I discovered that this is exactly what I need. This is working exactly the way that I want it to work. This feels very logic to me now, because I was thinking back in 2006, after using the computer for a couple of months or so, that every piece felt on its place. So this is now I'm telling you now how it was for me. This is maybe this is not going to happen for you. But for me, it was kind of like discovering a new world. And it was stable, no problems whatsoever. And best of all, I pushed the start button on the computer and bam, 15 seconds, everything started up, everything was working great. You know, a PC took a couple of minutes to start up. And there was no virus programs required. There was no nothing. So a a big world was opening for me, a whole new world to discover, and everything was, I was feeling so good about, well, I got my Mac and there's no problem. I can be in very good mood, working with my computer. Everything just works. You know, no problem at all. It just works. So I was very happy about putting my PC away and choosing the Mac. Since then, I actually bought a couple of, maybe a year later, I'm not really sure, but I actually bought a MacBook, a black MacBook with the plastic body. Because I wanted to be more portable, so I could bring my computer if I'm traveling or doing, you know, I need to bring my stuff. Back in the days, it was a very expensive computer as well, but you know, I was happy with it. So this whole goddamn thing with Mac was just a great experience for me. I'm still using Mac today. I would never ever go back to PC again, and definitely not Windows. So I actually got a PC somewhere around here running Linux, Ubuntu, yeah, Linux Ubuntu. I don't use it very much, but it's kind of like the same kernel as Mac OS. It's not the same thing, of course, but it's kind of like pretty much working the same. So if you know how to use a Mac computer, you definitely know how to use Linux, that's for sure. But for me, I will stick to Mac, and I'm loving my Macs. There is no way in hell I'm going back to Windows. I don't know, Windows. I remember someone telling me that something called Windows 8 or oh yeah, Windows 8, maybe Windows 7. Yeah, I know Windows 7, but Windows 8 I think released a couple of years ago maybe. I don't know what's the Windows now. Write me a comment down below. Windows 15 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it 5 years since I used Windows 7? I believe maybe 6 years. I don't know. I don't really know. Maybe it's Windows. Is it Windows 12 or 15 now? Maybe. I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm so hating Windows and PCs that I don't really care what's the Windows now, if it's Windows 15 or Windows 20 or Windows 40 or whatever. I don't care. I don't give a shit. So, but anyway, this is just a 20-minute story about how I discovered Mac and why was the reason I was thinking about Mac and all that kind of stuff. So still to this date, I don't really need a virus program because there is not very much viruses going around for Mac yet. So, but you never know, there can be some viruses. Anyway, I want to stop now. 20 minutes exactly. This is my story about why I started to using Mac. So take care now. Bye bye then.